Let me tell you something that took me 72 years to understand. Something nobody told me when I was young, something nobody tells men when they get older, either. I'm sitting here in a chair that's older than most of the people watching this video. The house is quiet. The coffee is going cold. And for the first time in my life, I am completely, totally at peace. But it wasn't always like this. 3 years ago, I was desperate. Not broke, not sick. Desperate in a way that's harder to explain. The kind of desperate that comes when you realize your life didn't turn out the way you planned, and you start thinking the only solution is to find someone to share the emptiness with. I got it all wrong, and I want to save you from making the same mistake I almost made. So sit with me for a few minutes. Get yourself a cup of something warm, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just a story about relationships. It's the story of a man who spent 72 years running from himself and finally stopped. I grew up in a small town in rural Ohio. We're talking about the 1950s, an era when men didn't talk about feelings, didn't see therapists, and didn't ask for directions even when they were hopelessly lost. My father worked in a steel mill 6 days a week and came home tired every night. He wasn't a bad man. He just never taught me how to be alone. And he never taught me how to be with myself. What he did teach me was this: a man's worth is measured by what he provides. So that's who I became. At 24, I married my college sweetheart, Patricia. She was the kind of woman who laughed with her whole body and wore her hair in a braid every single day without fail. We had a good marriage. We really did. 31 years together, 3 kids, a house in the suburbs, a dog named Biscuit who lived to be 17 years old. But I worked. Lord, did I work. I was a civil engineer. I built bridges, real ones made of steel and concrete. And the irony of that isn't lost on me now, because during those 31 years, I never once built a proper bridge between myself and my wife. I was present in body, but absent in spirit. I thought providing was the same as loving. It wasn't. Patricia passed away in 2004. Cancer. 18 months from diagnosis to the end. And I have to be honest with you right now, because this is the part that's hard to say out loud. When she died, I didn't just lose her. I lost the only identity I had. I didn't know who I was without someone to take care of, without someone to come home to. I had spent my entire adult life defining myself through other people, and suddenly I was a 60-year-old widower standing in an empty kitchen, and I had absolutely no idea what to do with myself. That should have been the moment I learned the lesson I'm about to share with you. But I wasn't ready yet. Here's something I mean sincerely. The loneliest I have ever felt in my life was not when I was alone. It was when I was with the wrong person. About 2 years after Patricia passed, a friend set me up with a woman named Donna. She was kind. She was funny. She liked jazz and gardening and old Western movies. And she didn't deserve what I put her through. Because I wasn't looking for a partner, I was looking for a rescue. I wanted someone to fill the silence. Someone to make my house feel like a home again. Someone to make me feel like I still mattered. And I mistook that desperate longing for love. I convinced myself it was love, because it felt so strong and so urgent. We dated for almost 3 years. I pushed too hard, too fast. I needed too much reassurance. Every time she needed space, I panicked. Every time she didn't call back quickly, I spiraled, and eventually, understandably, she walked away. I was devastated. But here's what I didn't understand then. The pain I felt when Donna left had almost nothing to do with Donna. It was the pain of a man who had never learned to sit with himself. A year later, I did it again with a woman named Carol. Same story, different name. I was like a man who keeps touching a hot stove and wondering why he keeps getting burned. By the time I reached my late 60s, I had been in 3 relationships after Patricia's passing, and every single one of them had ended the same way. Me gripping too tight, her pulling away, both of us left worse off than before. And during one sleepless night in the winter of 2019, I sat in my kitchen at 2 a.m. and I thought, what is wrong with me? That question, that simple, honest, brutal question, was the beginning of everything. My youngest daughter, Rachel, had been gently suggesting for years that I talk to someone, a counselor, a therapist, and for years I resisted. Men of my generation, we didn't do that. That was for people with real problems. But at 69, with another failed relationship behind me and a silence in my house that felt like it had weight to it, I finally made an appointment. His name was Dr. Marcus Webb. He was probably 40 years old, young enough to be my son, and in our very first session, he asked me something that stopped me cold. He said, "Harold, when was the last time you spent time doing something you genuinely enjoyed, just for yourself, with no one else involved?" I sat there. I thought hard. I couldn't answer. I was 69 years old, and I could not recall a single moment in my adult life where I had done something purely, selfishly, joyfully for myself. I had worked for my family. I had grieved for my wife. I had tried to find companionship after her. But I had never once, not once, simply been with myself, enjoyed my own company, made a life that felt like mine, separate from everyone else's expectations of me. Dr. Webb told me something I want you to hear clearly, especially if you're a man over 60 who has been feeling that pull toward another relationship, that itch for companionship. He said, "Harold, you're not looking for a girlfriend. You're looking for yourself. And no woman can give you that. Only you can." I drove home in silence that night. I sat in my driveway for a long time. And then I cried. Really cried. Maybe for the first time since Patricia's funeral. Not because I was sad, but because something had finally cracked open. Over the next year, I did something radical. I stopped dating entirely, deleted the apps my kids had helped me set up, stopped saying yes to setups from friends, and I started getting to know the man in the mirror. I started doing things I had always told myself I'd get to someday. I took a woodworking class at the community center. I was terrible, absolutely terrible. I made a birdhouse that looked like it had survived a tornado. But I laughed. Deep, genuine laughter, for the first time in years. I joined a hiking group. Not a singles hiking group, just a hiking group. People of all ages who liked being outside and didn't talk about stock portfolios or late-life loneliness. We just walked. Through woods, along creek beds, up hills that made my knees complain. And I was present in a way I hadn't been in decades. I started writing. Nothing fancy, just a journal. Pages and pages of what I remembered, what I regretted, what I was grateful for. And on those pages, I started to discover a man I had never properly met. Me. I discovered that I loved silence. Actually loved it. Not as an absence of something, but as a presence. The quiet of early morning before the birds started. The stillness of a house where everything is exactly where you left it. I discovered that I found deep satisfaction in small things. A well-made cup of coffee, a book that you can't put down, a phone call with my grandchildren where I really listened instead of half listening while planning what to say next. I discovered that loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is wanting company and not having it. Solitude is choosing to be with yourself and finding that the company is actually pretty good. And here is the most important thing I learned. The thing I wish someone had told me at 30 or 40 or 50. You cannot truly love another person until you can be comfortable in your own company. Because if you enter a relationship running from loneliness, you will bring that hunger into the relationship with you. You'll demand things from your partner that she can never give you. You'll mistake dependency for love. You'll cling when you should hold gently. And eventually, you'll suffocate what could have been something beautiful. I had done this 3 times, and none of it was because the women were wrong for me. It was because I was wrong, unfinished, incomplete, still searching when I showed up to meet them. I am 72 years old. My knees hurt in cold weather. I have reading glasses in every room of the house because I can never find the ones I'm looking for. My grandchildren think I'm hilarious and slightly out of touch, and they are correct on both counts. And I am, without any qualification, the happiest I have ever been in my life. Not because I'm a hermit, not because I've sworn off connection. I have deep friendships, men I've known for decades, neighbors I've grown close to, a hiking group that's become something like a second family. My children call often. My grandchildren visit and make my house loud and chaotic and wonderful. But my sense of peace, my sense of identity, my sense of purpose, none of that comes from another person anymore. It comes from me. I wake up in the morning and I have a routine I built. Coffee by the window, 30 minutes of reading, a walk if the weather permits, woodworking in the afternoon. I've gotten better, by the way. Last Christmas I made my granddaughter a rocking horse that looked like an actual rocking horse, not a survivor of some disaster. I have a life that is mine, and that changes everything. Now, let me be honest with you, because I don't want to mislead anyone watching this. Am I saying you should never have a companion after 60? No, that's not what this is about. What I'm saying is this: don't seek a relationship because you're running from something. Seek it, if and when you seek it, because your life is already full and good, and you'd like to share some of that goodness with someone. There is a woman in my hiking group named Eleanor. She is 70. She lost her husband a few years before I started coming on the hikes. We have talked, really talked, in a way I don't think I've talked to anyone in years. No urgency, no desperation. Just 2 people who have been through things, who have made peace with those things, and who enjoy each other's company. I don't know where that goes. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere. But for the first time in my life, I'm not trying to force the answer. I'm not grasping or planning or needing. I'm just showing up, exactly as I am. And that, my friends, is what 72 years finally taught me. If you've made it this far, thank you. Really. It means a lot that you'd sit with an old man and listen to his story. I want to leave you with 3 things. 3 thoughts I wish someone had handed me like a note when I was younger and stupid and in a hurry. First, your worth was never about what you provided. You were always enough simply by being alive and present. It took me most of my life to believe that. Please, believe it sooner than I did. Second, solitude is not the enemy. It is the classroom. Everything you've been avoiding by staying busy, by seeking company, by keeping the television on just so the house doesn't feel too quiet, it's all waiting for you in the silence. And it's not as frightening as you think. In fact, once you sit with it, you'll find it's been waiting to help you. Third, if you want real companionship someday, genuine, unhurried, beautiful companionship, become someone you'd enjoy spending time with first. Build a life that feels good to you. And then, if another person walks into that life, they'll be joining something real, not filling a void. I'm Harold. I'm 72. I built bridges for a living and spent most of my personal life unable to cross one. But I'm learning. Even now, I'm learning. And if a stubborn old engineer from Ohio can do it, so can you. Take care of yourselves, friends, and maybe this week, just once, turn off the noise, sit with the quiet, and see what you find there.